Let's talk about what a typical day of eating is for you. Give people the lay of the land. If keto is new to them, what 24 hours would look like.
So what it would look like for somebody who's new to keto or what it looks like for me or both?
Well, let's do you first, and then we
Okay.
can pivot off that.
So I'm a little bit more advanced, and then we'll kind of pivot off of what I'm doing. I pretty much do, Jesse, mostly a carnivore diet. And I would say 6 days out of the week, Monday through Saturday, I eat animal based. I eat carnivore. So I'm eating steak, red meat, lamb. I'm eating eggs. So today, for example, right before I hopped on this interview with you, I had eggs with goat cheese cooked in butter. That was my lunch. Later on, I'll have a piece of steak. That's what I typically do Monday through Saturday. Now on Sunday, I flex out of keto, I flex out of carnivore, and it's actually a higher healthy carb day for me where I'll have upwards of 300 grams of carbs, lower fat that day. I'll have some low oxalate vegetables. I'll have maybe fruit, white rice, but I've done the work to kind of build up my metabolism to do this sort of flex. So it's different what I'm doing versus somebody who's new. So I would say 90% of the time, Jesse, I'm carnivore. 10% of the time, I flex out. That's my current routine.
And when it comes to this flex piece, is that for being social, having diversity within the diet? Or do you look at that as an integral piece of maintaining your health?
All of that for sure, right? The social part is important, right? So I'll usually designate a flex day for a social day or a social event, makes it a lot easier. And the diversity part is also important. We get so used to eating the same foods over and over again. And we're just not designed to do that. We're designed to eat different types of foods. Of course, eat in season if you can, but creating a change in your nutrition, eating different foods creates a stress to the gut microbiome, which is a good stress, creates more diversity. So I like the change up. And then overall health. I'm a big fan of metabolic flexibility. I think that is the name of the game for longevity and anti-aging and burning fat. It's this metabolic flexibility, which means our metabolism is designed to burn whatever substrate is available, whether it's burning carbs, sugar, fat, ketones, and doing both, going back and forth, right? So I love keto, but I'm not a big advocate of long-term continuous ketosis. I'm a fan of going in and out. Now, 93% of Americans are stuck burning sugar. They're metabolically inflexible, metabolically handcuffed. They have forgotten how to burn fat. They're in a keto deficiency, and they really need this metabolic process of ketosis. So we use it. We get them fat adapted and then keto adapted, which typically takes about 8 to 12 weeks. At that point, we decide if we want to flex out and have that higher healthy carb day where we could remind the metabolism we have a different fuel source for this day. We're going to burn sugar instead of fat. And then you burn sugar for a day, and then you're back to burning fat for the rest of the week. Now, if you've done this the right way, like I have personally, after having 300 grams of carbs on a Sunday, Jesse, Monday afternoon, I'm right back into ketosis, right? That is a sign of metabolic flexibility. I think that is the key also for longevity as well.
And for you coming to this point within your diet and lifestyle and having this one day of higher carb, was that something you learned the hard way over the years? Were you ever somebody that was ketosis 24/7 and then had certain challenges and then pivoted to this? Or have you always gone to this more balanced approach?
I was definitely dogmatic about keto when I started doing it for myself and then teaching it to my clients back in late 2013 is when I got into ketosis. At this time, I owned a CrossFit gym here in Miami, so I was training really hard, doing keto, mineral depleted, electrolyte depleted, like all the things that come with long-term ketosis and heavy training. But I thought keto was like the solution. I thought it was the end all be all. I was telling everybody about keto. I was really dogmatic. I put myself in a box. So I stuck with it for over a year. And I realized, man, maybe this is too aggressive. Maybe I need to do some things to change it up and have a day where I'll have some healthy carbs or time some carbs before a workout. So I kind of learned through experimenting with it. And then, of course, working with thousands of people, and I've taken over 5,000 people through my Keto Kamp Academy. I've gotten data from them, right? So I've learned that women, for example, who have a menstrual cycle, need to do more flexing than men. Men could be more aggressive, and postmenopausal women could also be more aggressive. So it's always different depending on the person. But I learned the hard way, being the guinea pig, and then using data from a lot of my students from all across the world.
All right, coming back to the beginner, somebody that this is brand new, you mentioned a number of weeks of staying in ketosis to become metabolically flexible. How many weeks was that?
About 8 to 12 weeks on average gets you what's called keto adapted. And I'll unpack what I mean by that. So The first goal is to get fat adapted, Jesse. As I mentioned, 93% of people are sugar burners. They're stuck burning sugar and glucose, highly inflammatory. It'll age you faster than anything else if you're stuck burning sugar. We get them fat adapted. It takes about 7 to 10 days to get them into a fat burning state. We do this by first step is gradually decreasing your total carbohydrates. The average person is consuming about 300 grams of carbs per day. In order to get into ketosis and get fat adapted, that needs to be dropped under 50 total grams of carbs per day for most people. But I don't like doing that in one day. I don't like doing that too quickly because symptoms could result as a result of doing that. So you do a gradual approach of decreasing your carbs under 50 grams per day. You get there about 7 days in, and you start to increase healthy fats, like the fats I mentioned earlier. You start to increase your electrolytes and sea salt to replenish any minerals or electrolytes that are lost as you lower insulin. That'll happen. And then you're fat adapted. And you could verify that by testing your blood ketones. You could use a machine like a Keto Mojo or any kind of device that tests blood ketones, where you prick your finger, draw blood, you put that blood on a strip, a ketone strip, put that ketone strip into the meter. And if you register 0.5 millimoles per liter or higher, you're in ketosis, you're now fat adapted. And most people could get there in about 7 to 10 days. Now, this is different, Jesse, than being keto adapted. Keto adaptation takes about 8 to 12 weeks. This is now when you achieve keto adaptation, it's when your mitochondria are now primed to use ketones as the primary energy source. And something really cool happens when you achieve this. These ketones, when your mitochondria are using them as an energy source, the ketones act as a signaling molecule to beneficially stress the mitochondria to create mitochondrial biogenesis, which is the creation of new mitochondria, healthier mitochondria, which is key for anti-aging, biohacking, longevity, fat loss, just feeling great. And you produce 400% more ATP energy when you're a keto adapted versus somebody burning sugar, which is really amazing. So one of the first signs you're going to notice when you're keto adapted is the mental clarity. This is the thing I get from all my students. Like, oh my gosh, like I was feeling good already doing keto, but now I feel like my brain is on a different level. I have this mental clarity. I'm productive. I just feel really good. That's a sign of keto adaptation. And typically that takes about 8 to 12 weeks of being in ketosis to get to that point.
So you mentioned what a typical week would look like for you diet-wise, and how you have the one day on Sunday where you allow in more carbs intentionally. You mentioned having some eggs and cheese before our call here. Let's zoom in on a typical day, what you're eating and when you're eating. So when you're breaking your fast.
Yeah. So in the morning, about an hour and a half after I wake up, I have my coffee. I've been adding in collagen protein powder to my coffee, which technically breaks the fast. But my goal right now, I'm on a strength training program. My goal is to get enough protein throughout the day. And by having the 2 scoops of collagen, which is about 30 grams of protein in my coffee, helps me get to my goal. So I'll have that around 8:30, 9 a.m. Typically wait about an hour and a half, 2 hours after I wake up to have it. And then I'm in a semi-fasted state where I don't eat anything until usually around 12:30 noon. I'll work out in between that in a semi-fasted state with the exception of the protein, collagen protein. Then I'll have my lunch around 12:30 or noon, either eggs and like goat cheese or a ribeye steak or some organic chicken wings with some like hot sauce. Sometimes I'll have that. And then I'll fast until dinner time. So I usually have about 2 meals per day. I'll have dinner around 5 p.m., usually steak, usually meat. I love red meat. I do really well with red meat. And it's usually fattier cuts of meat like ribeye or picanha, which is a cut of red meat. So that's typically what I have. And I usually eat 2 meals within about a 5-hour eating window. And then I'm giving myself at least 3 to 5 hours of fasting before bed, which is actually really important to do. You don't want to eat too close to bed.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch a full episode. I'll see you over there.
I did the experiment. So I did 90 days of carnivore, and a couple of interesting things happened. I dropped 6% body fat, meaning a total of 6% body fat reduction during the 90 days. And I didn't even realize that I needed to lose those 6% body fat.